At midlife, in her 40s, she found herself continuously awake through the night, scrolling and scrolling the Rolodex of fear. She felt tired, angry, and unhappy. But on her quest to become happier, my guest today discovered something unique. Hey everybody, this is Damon, and this is my show, The Bravehearted Woman. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, each week I bring important topics for women just like you to help you live with courage and confidence and bold vision for your future. So make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'm always giving out free resources that empower you. So you ready? Come on, let's get brave. Hey, I'm Damon. Welcome to The Bravehearted Woman. And my guest today is a well-loved communicator. She's an author, a popular podcast host of the show called Surviving Sarah. And she says happiness comes from connectivity. Her latest book is Everyone Happier Than Me? An honest guide to the questions that keep you up at night. Her book just dropped. Please welcome my guest today, Sarah Bragg. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Don. Thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely. So glad to have another brave-hearted woman joining us and to hear your Braveheart story today. So yes, you're an amazing author of this new book, and I want to ask you about your brave moment here as we share today. But in your midlife, in the 40s, you found yourself wide awake at night. What was that all about? Tell us about this season of your life.
Yeah, well, I think, I read about some of your story and you probably relate to the same thing when you get to a certain point in life and you start to look around and or maybe some circumstances ushered you into a season of life and you look around and you think, "Gosh, is this it? Like, is this everything I've been working towards or thinking was going to happen?" For me, I feel like a lot of this came out of the pandemic. I got my first book to write. Well, I guess it's technically my second book, but I had to write it in the middle of the shutdown. I have teenage girls. At the time, they're obviously a little bit younger than that, and they were at home, and we were in 1,200 square feet on top of each other and trying to homeschool and write a book and do all the other normal things of life while carrying the fear of the unknown of the state of the world, what we're doing. And then we decided to move from Atlanta to Tennessee at the end of that year. And that just shifted everything. And so I sort of felt like in about 2021, 2022, I just felt like everything had been building. And the common question, I guess people ask this a lot when you've, launched my book and then we had moved. So there had been a lot of like success and change. And they would say, like, "Are you just so happy?" And I found myself looking at them and going, "Oh, yeah, sure. I'm real happy," and not really feeling happy. And so I sort of found myself in the night waking up, and every night was just like a different worry or a different fear. Much like I have a middle school daughter, and she is asking the same questions. Does anybody like me? Do I matter? Is everyone happier than me? And I would just roll these questions over in my mind. And I think midlife is a lot like middle school when your body is
Yeah.
changing,
Mhm.
right? Your world is changing. You're making friends, losing friends, making new friends, transition of schools, everything. And I feel like midlife is very similar. And so I just started to pay attention to those questions and started wondering, well, if I don't feel happy and I would love to feel happier, why do I not feel happy and what can I do about it? And so that sort of just led me on this introspective quest, I guess, to find a sense of happiness. And that's really where this book sort of fell out of.
Yeah, and we're going to hear more about that. But I agree with you that midlife is a really troublesome time. It can flip us upside down. Maybe we had this confidence and we had this self assurance about ourselves, and then all the rules feel different in midlife, right? I mean, my body doesn't do what it used to do. My hormones aren't doing what they used to do. I look in the mirror and I'm like, I kind of feel like my mom is in my mirror, like, go away. I've grown into my mother. Where did these wrinkles come from? So midlife is a time that can be very, yes, destabilizing, unsettling. But you decided, okay, I'm going on this quest for happiness. What did that look like? And when did you start that? And I do have another question too that maybe you can fold in, but I'm curious, did this fear or this sense just come upon you like in midlife, or do you remember struggling with some of these feelings and emotions earlier in your lifetime?
Yeah. I think it's cyclical. I think it's not surprising to me when I can look back that I struggled. Because again, like I said, the earliest memories of those not only are like my daughter, but I was a middle school girl and asking those same questions and having those same worries. And when my body was changing through puberty, I found myself on the other side of eating disorders because I didn't know how to wrestle with a changing body. And so it's very similar, I feel like, with this. I remember walking into it again, I guess around 30, in my early 30s. That same, all of a sudden things have changed. I became a new mom for the first time at 30. I had a job change where like I got essentially let go of what I was doing. And so that kind of catapulted me into that same space of like, oh, wait a second. Like, where am I? Who am I? What do I do now? Why is everything different? And so I definitely think we go in and out of those seasons. And so it was actually sort of comforting when I began to look back and go, oh, this feels a lot like it did when I was 30. Okay, well, what did I do during that season to help me figure out my way? And I sort of just went back to those things. So for me, it was very introspective. I do a lot of journaling. I realized I have to get out of my head. And one of the best ways for me to get out of my head is to put it on paper. And so I would journal a lot. I would just be very honest about what I was thinking or feeling or wondering. I also talk to people. Connection is a big deal. I think we are wired for it. Again, that's another way for me to get out of my head is to actually speak it out loud to someone else. I remembered that season before when I was 30, it took several years to kind of find my way of some things that I wanted to do and things that brought me a whole lot of life and a whole lot of joy. So on one hand, it was a little bit discouraging because you're like, oh wait, does this mean I'm going to be in this season for a little bit? But on the other hand, it was comforting to know, oh, this is very normal. I think these are just phases that we go in and out of. This doesn't have to be the definition of what life now is going to be, but it can go, we're going to make our way through it. We just have to do a little bit of introspective work and be paying attention and to see what is next and to see what is to come, to see what actually brings a little bit of happiness in the daily for us.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's really wise to say that life is cyclical and it's like, okay, I've been here before. What did I do? But now I'm here with more wisdom, hopefully.
Yes.
I'm here with more understanding of how life works. And I have some experience and history with God to draw on. I know I'm going to get through this season because seasons are certain, but they are not final. Right when you
Yeah.
get this one figured out, spoiler alert, it'll change again. And so now here you are, you've written this book, and you say that kind of tucked in every nook and cranny of your book are these words connection, conversation, and curiosity. How have these words become so important to you?
Yeah, I can think of faces when I say those names that have meant that to me. When I think about conversation, I think about it's a way to connect with people. We have conversation. More than likely, at the end of this conversation, I will feel so much more connected with you
Right?
because we had a conversation. It just has a way of getting to know other people and other perspectives. I think connection, we are definitely wired for that. We are social beings. And that is what I've figured out is helpful for me to feel seen and heard and valued is when I feel like I am connecting with other people. And then curiosity has done wonders for me on perspective shifting and helping judgment to fall to the wayside.
Yes.
When I can be curious about other people and maybe they're different from me and they think differently or believe differently. And when I can have a sense of curiosity about it, I just find that I'm way more empathetic and compassionate and intrigued versus judgmental and wanting to shut down that connection. So it goes all the way back to that connection to me. They all connect to each other, those words. And I don't know. I think I'm a better human when those things are driving what I'm doing.
I love the word curiosity too. That is just something that I'm like, yes, that's a great reframer. I
Yeah.
might see it this way, and our brain wants to make conclusions right away, and we want to come up with judgments. But if I can introduce curiosity to my thought pattern, then I can step back and go, but wait a minute, what if? And I
Right.
just have come to believe that there is a story behind every behavior. So there's something about your history that I'm not pervy to. And so let me just suspend this judgment and let me be
Yeah.
curious.
Goes a
And
long
be,
way.
yeah.
Mhm.
And it does take us a long way. And like what you're saying, it leads to happiness
Yeah.
because happiness kind of is a choice, don't you think, at the
Mhm.
end of the day? I can
Yeah.
choose this attitude. I can
Yeah.
choose to frame these circumstances this way.
It's a feeling just like any other feeling, So you're not going to feel happiness like all day, every day. I'm going to somehow arrive at this, like, again, you've said it just a few minutes ago. I mean, if change hasn't happened yet, it's going to happen soon. Like it's just the nature of the game. But I do think that happiness is a choice that we can make and we can lean into and we can find little pockets of it on the daily basis.
I agree. So, what are some of the changes that have increased your happiness? By the way, I love your book cover.
Oh,
Just looking
thank
at
you.
your book cover brings some happiness. It's like, wow, this is fun. And
Yes.
it emotes the emotion of happiness. But what are some things, some changes that you've made that have helped maybe increase your happiness?
Yeah. Well, connection for sure. I've realized that that's really what happiness comes down to. When I am connected, meaning when I'm connected even with myself and connected with others, I feel happier. So for me, I realized so we moved from a downtown community that was walkable to the country. And so my countryside, while I walk on my property, I'm not running into people. I'm not, it would be a really long walk to a coffee shop if I were to walk there. So I realized it's really easy for me to sort of get isolated and I need connection to feel happy. So I just make sure to schedule every week a connection point with someone because I know that that fuels my happiness. I feel like that's one of those things. And again, for me, there's so many different levels. Each chapter in the book is sort of a different question that I'm wrestling with. So, one of the questions is, do I matter? And that's really sort of about purpose. And I feel like reframing purpose to just mattering brought me a lot of happiness because, again, instead of feeling this pressure of like, oh, I've got to do something just big and grand with my life, or I'm 45 and I've run out, like, what am I going to do for the rest? Like, you just feel this pressure. Boiling it down to something small that matters right now. Like, I'm in a phase of life where I'm driving my kids everywhere all the time. And while that's annoying on so many levels, it matters. I matter to them because I am driving them places. And when I can reframe that, it helps me to not feel so much angst about that and instead go, okay, like this is good. I am happy about this place in life that I am an Uber driver for my children because this is mattering to them right now. So it's really been some different perspective shifts on different things that have brought a better sense of happiness too.
I don't know if this helps you at all, but I think I had some of the best conversations with my daughters
Mhm.
when we were in the car driving
Absolutely.
them. For some reason, it was like truth serum went into them. I think because they could look out the window and they didn't have to stare at me in the
Mhm.
face. Like there wasn't anything else. So, yes, you will miss that season.
Yeah.
Believe me when it's
Yes.
over. So, yeah, totally enjoy it. Going back to what you said about connectivity, I had a curiosity about that when you said that. Are you an extrovert personality by any chance? Is there something linked to the way you're wired, that connectivity? I know we're all designed for
Right.
connectivity, but I know I've also talked to some introverts that say, I have to have alone time or I
Right.
become really unhappy. So it
Yeah.
just kind of made me wonder.
So I feel like I've always been right in the middle where I need alone time to recharge, but I don't need a lot of alone time. If I get a lot of alone time, I start to really get sad. Whereas my husband, on the other hand, I remember, had to take a trip for work. He works in video and he was going to capture all this footage. Well, I mean, I feel really bad for him because he had to go to like Hawaii and
Oh,
Vegas and
yeah.
all that. Yeah, I felt
Poor
terrible
guy.
for him. So he was gone 10 days and he did not speak to anyone. He traveled by himself. He did everything by himself. And when he got home, I've never seen him happier. He was
Oh,
so recharged. Now, if I had to do that for 10 days, like someone would probably just be like, I think she was left in a ditch somewhere. Like I wouldn't make it for 10 days, like by myself for that long. So I'm sure there's something to that. But also, my husband is, there's times where we have so many conversations where he's lonely. And even though he loves to be alone and he gets so much happiness from being alone, he also craves that real connection, not just sort of that fake small talk that probably exhausts him as an introvert, but real connection and being able to fully talk to someone and be real and be authentic. And so I do feel like there's probably something to personality in that way. But I also think that even if some people might need like 10 people that I'm connecting with, and some people might need just one. So I do think that connection to people might be in different doses, but I do think we all need that sense of somebody that we can lean on.
Well, you said it, I matter. To know that you are known and you are intimately known, like someone gets you, they understand your heart, you have connected at a level that's not just a shallow or casual level, but makes you feel like Hagar said when God saw her,
Mhm.
the God I see sees me.
Mm.
Like, I'm known, somebody sees me. And this is why you talk about also in your book that this doesn't count on social media. People can have 2,000, 3,000 friends and feel completely invisible. So that deep connection, it's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I think we are more connected than ever before. Yet, loneliness is up in our country. And so you go, well, if I know all these people and all these people are seeing what I'm doing online and maybe they're liking stuff and they're commenting on stuff, but I don't feel known because again, we tend to just put our best foot forward or what we want people to see. Sometimes you just have no idea what's really going on with someone. And so that leaves us feeling unseen and not known. And so I think
Mhm.
we have to really work hard actually being connected, even though we are very much connected very easily online.
Well, the book is called Is Everyone Happier Than Me? An Honest Guide to the Questions That Keep You Up by Night. My guest today, Sarah Bragg. Sarah, any final thoughts for our listeners, the brave-hearted women, the women in midlife who might feel
Yeah.
invisible and
Yeah.
unknown?
Well, there's one phrase, and I feel like this will really resonate with your audience that I have been saying to myself so much over the last couple of months, with my book coming out and wrapping all this up. Because I think it takes a lot of bravery to show up as you are. I think in our midlife, especially, we feel very vulnerable because, like you said at the very beginning,
Yep.
everything has changed, everything has shifted. We're not really sure who we are anymore. It's all changed. But I keep saying to myself, I'm looking over here because I have it. In fact, I put it on a post it right in front of my desk because I want to see it all the time. And it says, I choose to show up bravely,
Mm.
flawed, and full of hope. And I think that is what we have to do on the daily basis when we're unsure of who we are, or our bodies are changing, or we're not feeling like we matter anymore, or we don't know if anybody likes us, and all of these things. We choose to show up flawed and bravely, but full of hope.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. What a great way to kind of wrap that up because that is it. Sometimes courage is just showing up, like
That's right.
Brené Brown says. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being with us and in inspiring hope in us and for piquing our interest in how it is that happiness can really happen for each one of us if we're experiencing a little moment
Mhm.
of blah or blues or a season where we do stay up at night
Yeah.
wondering, am I liked? Do I matter? What is my purpose? Ladies, read all about it in her book. How can we find you, Sarah?
You can find me at sarahbragg.com. And in fact, if you order the book, go to sarahbragg.com/happy and you can download 3 episodes all about perfectionism. So that's a great way
Ooh,
to dig a little deeper.
that's another whole episode. That perfectionism, that's a stealer of happiness and
Yes.
yes, an illusion. Thank you so much for being with us today on The Brave-Hearted Woman. Hey, everybody, I'm going to leave you just like I always do. But first, your free download today. If you wonder about your own identity, about your own purpose, why don't you visit braveheartedwoman.com/resources? You know, it's always in the notes. We have a 7-day identity challenge just for you. And these final thoughts, it's time for you to find your brave and live your dreams.